Hello to my ACCA family. So, as I have discussed in my previous videos, that as your exam are coming near, the most important thing at this point of time is to read the resources given by ACC, and one of those resources is technical articles. So, as I have already mentioned, that you need to read at least once the technical article, especially the important ones. So, I am sharing the video on one of the most important technical articles for F8 student, which is audit risk. So, guys, let's do the important technical article audit risk together. So guys, what this technical article is explaining to me is that what audit risk is all about. So you must be aware of the audit risk is arise when my auditor gives in an inappropriate opinion. That means my financial statement are materially misstated, but he gives an unmodified opinion, and due to a wrong opinion, the financial statements, the opinion is not correct. So that is my audit risk. Now another thing is important, which is like identifying and assessing the risk of material misstatement through the understanding of the entity's environment. So basically, audit risk का जब भी क्वेश्चन हमारे पास आएगा, what I have to do is I need to know what audit risk is, वो risk कहाँ से arise हो रहा है, and what is the impact of those risks and how I will be dealing with that risk. So the main requirements of audit risk is just this much, but for that sake, you must have the accounting knowledge in your backend, and all the F3 and F7 knowledge is mandatory. You not need to mug up the standard, but yes, you need to understand the concept of those standard and link those standard with the auditing aspects, because auditor find the material misstatement in financial statements, and for that sake I need to know the right accounting treatment. So then in the standard, basically my auditors check the internal control aspects, financial statements aspects, right? So first of all, if we will be summarizing this ISA 315 requirements, so what are those requirements which an auditor should perform while going to the audit and while assessing the audit risk question? So he must assess the perform the risk assessment procedure so that he can give a correct basis and identification of the risk of material misstatement. Now, like he must need to know how the risk is arising, which areas are causing that risk, what is the impact of those risks, and how he will be dealing with those risks. So, procedure, I have already shared in my previous classes. The student who are getting coaching from me also know that I used to tell them that in procedure question, which is one of the most important area, student need to focus on action, source, and purpose. And action is my verb, and we have to use some keywords like obtain, reperform, recalculate, evaluate, discuss while using the procedures. Now, next step is my auditor is required to obtain the understanding of the entity, my client's entity, and the environment in which my client is operating, so that auditor can understand how risky is the situation, how internal control is operating in that specific organization, so that he can plan accordingly, he can plan his work accordingly, and he can analyze how risky the situation is. The next aspect is he has to identify the risk of material misstatement, and then if he finds any risk, then he find that whether they are material or not, and then according them he just give his responses. Whether if it is not material, then he need not to worry about, but if they are material and or material and pervasive, then he gives the opinion according to that specific situations. So there are certain requirements which I need to know and they are given in detail that yes, what kind of procedure my auditor can do. He can make inquiries to the management and other people within the entity, so that he can know about the entities objectives, goals, the risk prevailing in that organization. He can also perform the analytical procedure. We knew that that analytical procedures are performed on the transaction, unusual transaction, which were not in the previous year but are here. So on the basis of that, he makes certain kind of judgment. He gives the decision that yeah, this transaction was not in my previous year, and this is risky. That is something fishy here, and unusual transaction are there, and balances which were not in previous year, they are here. So according to that, he used his professional skepticism in that situation. Then in those procedure, I can use observation and inspection. We knew that the observation is always done live. That means if I have to consider that how the inventory is being counted, so I will go their warehouse or that specific place where the inventory is held, and I will be observing them live how they are counting that, right? And inspection, if I want to know about some document, account, any balance, then I will inspect those documents and I will check the things which are available in those documents. So there are certain procedure which a auditor can follow during his auditing process and assessing the risk, audit risk question. Then next step, understanding the entity, how the entity is, it is operating, how the internal control is. Because if the internal control is risky, if it's absent, that means I need to work more. So he will get the understanding of the environment in that entity is operating. Then identification and assessment of significant risk and risk of material misstatement. Now, what he will be doing, he will identify what kind of risk arise in that organization, and what kind of risk of material misstatement can arise in that misstatement, whether it is due to fraud, whether it is due to subjectivity, whether it is due to the accounting transaction and complex, whether they are involving, transaction which are outside the normal course of business. So based on that, he will identify the significant risk, and then the risk which he have identified, he will give responses to those risks. Then next is I need to know the difference between audit risk and business risk. Although business risk is not the part of my F8 question, but yes, I need to know that business risk is just the thinking, just like I have to think like a management. But while attempting the audit risk question, I have to think like an auditor. And I need to know that business risk is the risk that uh, certain situation can threat to my objective, can threat to my strategies of my business, and due to which I am not able to complete my objective. And management will think the situation, yes, this situation can threaten my business. So there is a interconnection between in audit risk and business risk, but yes, that is not relevant in your paper. That is relevant in AAA, and we will covering that thing in our AAA course. Now, another area is audit risk model. Now, you all must be aware of that we are having three types of risk: risk of material misstatement, audit risk, and business risk, which is not your part. We have ROMM and audit risk in our syllabus area. So, what is ROMM? Inherit risk and control risk comprise of my ROMM situation, right? And detection risk along with ROMM comprises is my audit risk. So combination of ROMM and detection risk is my audit risk. Now, the most important thing is that detection risk is arising due to the mistakes or due to the situations created by my auditor. It's not the responsibility of management. This risk arises because my auditor is unable to detect or correct the material misstatement, either individual or in aggregate level. And detection risk is also subdivided into sampling and non-sampling risk. Sampling risk is the situation when my auditor have worked with the help of samples. He have chosen sample and his opinion is different. If he would have chosen the whole population, his opinion would be different. So the situation just arises because he has chosen the sample and the sample were not able to give the whole population area, right? Now, non-sampling risk arise because of the situation other than the sampling error, right? Like wrong procedure, wrong testing followed by the auditor. Now, another important area is my control risk. That means control, the first and foremost responsibility of control and having a good control, internal control in our organization is my management. Auditor just have to check whether the control are existing and whether they are able to detect the material misstatement or not, right? So, what is my control risk? That the situation when either controls are not present in the organization or they are such a in a weak situation that they are not able to correct, detect and prevent on a timely basis. So controls are weak or control are missing. That is my control risk situation. Another situation, inherit risk, when due to the complexity, subjectivity of the transaction balances, the individual level or aggregate level misstatement are arising, and that is not just because of control risk, they are before considering the control. So due to the nature of transaction, class of transaction, they are present in my organization. So this is my inherit risk. The combination of all three risk is my audit risk. Now, that was all in my audit risk area. Now, there is one another technical article which I want to share with you and which I want to discuss with you today. That is the ISA 330 and responses to the assessed risks, that how my auditor give responses to those risks. See, my auditor has to carry out some control, test of control and substantive procedure. They are the part of my procedure. What is the difference between test of control and substantive procedure? You have to know the difference while attempting these questions. First of all, test of control are not that much detail as compared to substantive procedure as the name tells. So test of control is just like I am just testing the control whether the controls are operating or not, either yes or no. Just a short term work, right? The work is less. That's why the result are also less in test of control as compared to my substantive procedure, because substantive procedure are more detailed. Detailed work is involved in substantive procedure. So, like if I have to check the test of control, I will just check the control system, whether they are working or not, either yes or not, either they are operating or not. So basically, they are just checking their operating effectiveness. They are correcting or not, yes or no. But yes, substantive procedure will check the misstatement at the assertion level, deep work. So the work will be test of detailing transactions, substantive analytical procedure, comparing the transaction and making the result of those procedure. So, substantive procedure are more detailed and test of control are less detailed. So, I need to know about that, and that will also depend upon the timing situation, the riskiness of the situation, whether which type of testing I have to perform, whether I have to do test of control or substantive procedure. So, another thing is overall responses that there is a list given by ISA 330 that following overall responses that may be used by auditor in order to address the risk of material misstatement at the financial statement level. So, what my auditor will be doing while addressing those risks in the financial statement, he will emphasize that the audit team need to be maintain the professional skepticism. We knew that the professional skepticism is the main element of FICOP requirement, ethicals requirement. Now, he will analyze that I need to assign more staff or not. whether I need some expertise, then whether I need to change the nature, timing, and direction of the the work performed, which we have to perform during the audit scenario. Now, do we need to add the unpredictability element? um, do we need to change the overall strategy? Do we need to change the substantive procedure? So there are certain things which my auditor will give response to address the risk which he has find during the process of auditing. So, in a short note, basically, the most major important area is to assess the risk, how critical those risks are, how risky the situation is, and according to that, I will give response to those risks, either test of control or substantive procedure. So, guys, I hope this video will help you out, and I will be sharing more videos like this. And in case you need any assistance, you can directly contact me. Thank you.